Welcome into HogvilleNET Hoops. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. It is Sunday, November 2nd. Look, guys, you'll go to bed tonight, and when you wake up, you got some extra time, right? The clock's rolled back. When you wake up, it's game day. The season opener. I know there's been some fun with basketball and these hoop hogs already. I know the football season's been a disaster, and you're ready to completely turn the page to football with one eye, keeping an eye open on the coaching search. But Arkansas opens with Southern tomorrow. I'll be in Fayetteville at Bud Walton Arena to cover the game. I plan on doing a live post-game show in Bud Walton Arena, probably on the concourse or down in the museum area. But either way, I expect Arkansas, I've said this before, to win this game, season opener against the SWAC, defending champs, by the way. I'm going to do a quick preview at the end of this segment. So this will be our preview segment in addition to more intel in terms of Arkansas's recruiting for the 2026 class. That November 12th through the 19th week-long early signing period is just down the road, the first day of which is 10 days from now, so just over a week. And I've got some new intel about a possible visitor. He's pictured on your screen there, but I'm going to tell you about my conversation with him, who he's talking to on the Arkansas's coaching staff, what his intentions are about an Arkansas visit, as we, again, are getting crunch time right now in recruiting. And I'll, kind of review where things stand with a few others. We know Arkansas's already got two high caliber, highly talented players off the board and committed. J.J. Andrews, a five-star out of Little Rock back in mid-May. And then in October, about a month ago, Abdu Torre out of Connecticut, top 30, high-level four-star, both wing spot guys. And so they're off the board committed. They will sign in the early period, but we'll go through what's coming up here in terms of likely another visitor. And then but one of the big parts of the segment today, and this will be the first time I've tried this. I've been promising for a while that we're going to upgrade. And one of the upgrades that we've made is bringing you graphics, photos, been able to do some of that stuff. And I said, another thing I want to do is be able to break down highlights, show you highlights and go through those. And so I'm going to do that with Malik Thomas. Now, the FCC doesn't allow me to use highlights from games that have been televised, so I can't show you anything from the exhibition games. But I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to go back to the beginning when I covered Malik on the Nike EYBL circuit back in May in Kansas City of 2024. This is before he had a visit set up to Arkansas. This is obviously prior to a commitment or signing later in that early period that started at really basically a year ago, November of 2024. So, interview I did with him, it gives you an insight about his mentality as a player, his interest in Calipari in Arkansas. It's about a 2-minute interview, so we're going to go through that, and then I'm going to get into some highlights. I'm going to show you 3 highlights that I took of him at that Kansas City event, and you can see what he was bringing to the table then that's already translating. We've said forever, how will it translate? The stuff he was doing then, will he be able to deliver? Will those be deliverables as a true freshman? Learning curve is different from everybody. It's a different level of basketball, and we've only seen exhibition season. We know that's fooled us in the past about team and player, but Malik has looked really good, arguably Arkansas's best player in October. Now that we've turned the page to the regular season, we're going to show Malik some love and get into that a little bit. And again, then I'll have some more highlights from the scrimmage work that Arkansas did in Hot Springs and break down a few of the plays for you with Malik Thomas, and we'll talk about what's going on there. If you think about it, those 40 minutes of scrimmaging that Arkansas did that day, hog on hog, that's the toughest competition Arkansas's faced. No disrespect to Cincinnati or Memphis, but some of the stuff we saw in that glorified scrimmage down in Hot Springs, came against better competition when you're playing 5-on-5. And so, even though it's not the latest video, it's very similar to the stuff he did in these exhibition games against Cincinnati and Memphis. And so we're going to break down a little bit. And this is not going to take a whole lot of time when we get into the film work. But I'm so glad I'm able to do this now. It's part of the quality of the production and adding to the stuff we talk about. It's nice to have the talking points supported by a video that we can pause it, go frame by frame when we need to, and show you what's going on, and then what happens next and explain it. So I'm really excited about this part of it. Hope it goes well with the technology. I'm still learning everything today. All right, let's jump into recruiting. This is a big deal. We told you a few days ago, it got out. Marcus Johnson, a top 30 rated player in the class of 2026, high-level 4-star guard, had been committed to the home state school, Ohio State. He decommitted, and a report came out showing numerous teams that had already been in touch with him, Arkansas included. And so we came on and talked about the fact that was, I was able to confirm, yes, Arkansas, it has been in touch. Um, with Marcus Johnson, 6'2" guard, Garfield Heights out of Cincinnati, Ohio, plays for his dad. So his dad's a coach, really good player. And what we talked about was this is not a surprise that Arkansas would be interested this late because Calipari has identified and recruited high-level point guards in every class, pretty much going back forever. But since he's been at Arkansas, the first two recruiting cycles, it was Boogie Fland and then Darius Acuff Jr., who's now a freshman at Arkansas. And so you're looking at the next class, and Tate Kenny was really the only, you know, lead guard type that Arkansas really pursued. When you look beyond that, everybody else that Arkansas's recruiting in the backcourt are at best combo guards. Jordan Smith Jr., Caleb Holt, Brandon McCoy Jr. Bigger guards in some cases. Jordan Smith Jr. 6'2", but that elite length, strength, athleticism. But have been these guys have if they haven't been mostly playing the two spot, they're dabbling in that combo role where they place them on the ball. But Tate Kenny, now off to Kansas, as we know, took that official visit. He was really the only lead guard that Calipari, looked at. And so it makes sense, right? That if there's one that's come available that's as highly rated as Marcus Johnson is, why not kick the tires on it? Well, it's gone beyond that, and that's the intel today. I've talked with Marcus, had a little back and forth exchange. We'll call it an interview. And I just said, what's the level? Are you guys staying in touch, you and the Arkansas staff, beyond initial contact? Yes, was the answer to that. Who's your primary recruiter? Associate head coach Chin Coleman. Now, look, this makes sense. Chin Coleman's a Chicago guy. The Midwest is his area. He was deeply entrenched in Arkansas's recruitment of both Malik Thomas out of Pittsburgh and Darius Acuff Jr., although played at IMG Academy down in Florida from Detroit. So those tough, those hard-nosed basketball players you see all the time come out of places like Detroit, come out of places like Pittsburgh, come out of places like Philadelphia, come out of cities like Cleveland. And this is another one of those guys. So Arkansas, there's a fit in terms of a staff member that's done it for years in Chin Coleman, and that's kind of his backyard, that Midwest region in those metropolitan areas where he's used to recruiting and landing, helping Calipari land big recruits. That's part of it. Of course, John Calipari, the brand and the head man and the head hog and the hog father, doesn't need any help in terms of his brand, in terms of a recruiter, but it doesn't hurt to have someone like a Chin Coleman who's locked into that region. And now, kind of here last minute, you're looking at a player. All right, so he answered that question. Yes, we've maintained contact. Yes, it's Chin Coleman's my lead recruiter. Next question, do you intend to visit Arkansas? And I'm going to read it, direct quote for you, because I wrote it down. And I want you to hear I want you to know what he said. And the open quote, the exact date is not out yet, but should be visiting soon, visiting Arkansas. So the date's not out. Maybe the date's not finalized, but he should be visiting soon. Well, if you're looking to sign in the early period, it's going to have to be soon. But there's a list of other schools. I mean, there's multiple schools that reached out to him after this decommitment. Indiana University. Well, he played for the 17U Indy Heat on the Nike EYBL circuit, so he's and that's one of those Big Ten footprint states over there from where he's from, near where he's from. Louisville, neighboring state, Kentucky, Michigan, Big Ten school, Tennessee, Illinois, Syracuse, Southern Cal. Of course, Eric Patrick Melsman contacts everybody, right? Whether it's out of the portal, the high school ranks, decommitments, no surprise there. South Carolina and Cincinnati. So those are some of the schools, just some of the schools that came out. And so I asked him, I'm like, all right, Arkansas, you're going to visit soon. What about any of these other schools? And he said, I'll quote him there. He said, don't have the exact number of schools yet. So he's not sure how many or who from the answer there, but that he's telling me he's going to visit Arkansas. And he's, so this player, again, Marcus Johnson, 6'2" guard, Garfield Heights in Cleveland, Ohio, a really good player in the Nike EYBL. And, he was, the circuit named him after all 4 sessions plus, the completion of everything through Nike Peach Jam and the Peach Invitational. Once all that wrapped up, Marcus Johnson was selected by the circuit as a second team Nike EYBL season 2025 entire season second team guy. So that's pretty strong. Really good numbers: 19 and a half points, 5.1 rebounds, 2.5 assists for a lead guard, 1.6 steals, and shot 34% from three. And this is a really good shot creator. He is a score first lead guard. He will facilitate. He will make the right play, but he is looking for his shot in his creation game first. And that's not unlike guys like Boogie Fland and Darius Acuff. As good as Acuff's been with the 5.5 assists to only one turnover in the two exhibition games, still Arkansas' second leading scorer at 17 points per game. And when he's getting downhill, he's picking and choosing. But those are nuances that you continue to add to. If you remember when he arrived in June and July, when we got into the building as media for 1 hour in July, I was so impressed with how Acuff kind of shut down his scoring looks and was really trying to get the timing down with the big men in the two-man action, the dribble handoff stuff, the pick and rolls, the shallow rolls, the go screens, those kinds of things, or a pop out. So he was really focusing on the facilitating part of it. That's part of the maturation. So when you look at a guy's stats, knowing what Acuff was coming in, score first lead guard. Same with Boogie Fland the year before. Don't let that bother you that this is a lead guard who's also kind of right now a score first guy, because I've seen him play and he's got the goods. He's a talented creator off the bounce to get into find spots and create space off his craft. And so anytime you're doing that, it gets the defense out of sorts. They have to react, try to recover, and then other teammates open up. And he's got a high enough floor IQ, good enough court awareness to make the right play. So, it sounds like I'm already making excuses for it. A lot of times people say there are no more true point guards anymore. Well, the game's a little different. And, it's advantageous to have a guard who can score, even if it's score first, and bring along the other stuff. If he's got the tool set to do it, this one does. So I can understand why Arkansas has interest here. ESPN has this young man rated as the 28th best player in the 2026 class, a 4-star. But prior to the most recent update, he was in the top 25 on ESPN's rankings. 247 Sports has him at number 36, obviously a 4-star. So Marcus Johnson, keep an eye on this one. Now, I want to pump the brakes a little bit and remind everybody, every single player in the 2026 class that Arkansas got in late on, Arkansas could have had on campus for a visit, in some cases scheduled visits, and those visits never saw the light of day because Arkansas had prioritized others differently and ahead of that and been recruiting for a longer period of time. So just remember that. Cole Clower had set a visit date to Arkansas. Remember, October 3rd to the 5th. And then Arkansas moved away from that. They were closing in on Abdou Toure and shutting it down there because that was 2 wings in that class. Weren't going to go to 3. Chase Foster, Arkansas front line guy. Arkansas backed off there. Had finalized an official visit date that never saw the light of day in terms of public reporting. And so there's plausible deniability, but that's where that was. Arkansas late scholarship offer after Nike Peach Jam, same as Cole Clower. They played together at IMG Academy. They're playing together at IMG Academy this year. The Ratliff twins, Arkansas hot pursuit starting in early September, up until a point where 4 staff members, including the head hog, were out to Archbishop Stepanak outside of New York City. And then the offer came, then Arkansas pretty quickly backed away. We brought all that reporting here. So all those were late recruitments. Every one of those players got an Arkansas offer, yet Arkansas circumvented the full process and backed away. So you can't, even though the player says, I will be visiting soon and I'm staying in touch with Arkansas, it certainly can mean that Arkansas is in hot pursuit here. The difference between this player and what's happening now and those other late pursuits is that those players were uncommitted. Arkansas hadn't been recruiting them, got on their radar late. This is a player that Arkansas hadn't been recruiting for a while, but he's also been committed for a while. So you wouldn't be pursuing him or recruiting him while he's committed and getting ready to sign. Now he's available, and then we'll see. It's like everything else. Arkansas has backed away from players and stepped aside when the NIL exceeds what Calipari's comfortable with for that player and what else he's trying to do in his roster build. And it's not just all about the high school ranks. We're seeing more and more of that. We saw when I came on last time and brought you intel. that Arkansas is likely moving away from Arafat and Deane, and that's probably not going to happen. Um, so we're still on that until something changes. I never rule anything out, but it looks like those ships have sailed past each other now. I said that Arkansas is still on the decisions of Jordan Smith Jr., who, by the way, the 6'2" guard, top 5 rated 5-star guard who took an official visit the same weekend to Arkansas as Deane, is on an unofficial visit today to Syracuse. It's a team he's talked about for a while that he might visit. And this is I don't know if it's official or unofficial, but he's there on a Sunday. Maybe it's an unofficial visit and a quick stop. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know they've shoehorned in unplanned visits now. That unofficial visit a few weeks ago back to Duke, after having already taken an official visit there, and now Syracuse. So we'll keep an eye on Jordan Smith Jr. But Arkansas, part of the intel the other day was after circling back to the staff on Deane, confirming that maybe ships have sailed there, and I'm told, is that still in the works? And I was given a probably not. So remember that. But that Jordan Smith Jr., Caleb Holt, Brandon McCoy Jr., I keep hearing those are probably still going to be spring decisions, even though some of these visits keep being squeezed in as a lead up to the early period, which always makes you wonder, are they going to reconsider and maybe get it done early? Okay, we can't completely table that. Let's keep it as an option, but there's still word coming around that these guys, all three, are going to wait to the spring. And so if that's the case, and Arkansas staff sees it that way now as well, it makes sense also when you look at a Marcus Johnson. Positionally, just like with Tay Kenny, it's not like it's an either or. What helps make things either or are timelines, NIL, but positionally it's not an issue. It's not like you get, you might throw your hat in the ring for this guy, and you're clustering him in with these other guards that you might have to wait to the spring for. Positionally, I think you would recruit him or a Tay Kenny, Johnson or a Tay Kenny, while you're also recruiting those combo guards that can play the two. So you get a 1 and a 2. A 1 and a 2, right? I mean, Darius Acuff Jr., Malik Thomas. Both players like the ball in their hands. They like to initiate coming out of high school. Both top 10 rated 5-star guys, but they complement each other 1, 2. And this is the same kind of theory here. But the other part of it is if you could get a Marcus Johnson, say, and get it done early, then you've got your lead guard sewn up and you still have a great shot at one of the other three combos if it goes out to the spring. If you can get one to do it early, great. Mika Miernan, one of your front court options, going to have to probably, obviously wait till the spring at the soonest, and maybe even later, maybe even in the summer. He's on that pro contract overseas. 6'10", stretch 4, 4-5 combo as he adds strength at the college level would be the position. Baba Aladdin, who I'm the strongest, I'm the most bullish for Arkansas to get. We'll see if it comes out. I don't know that he visited anywhere this weekend. I don't think he did. I didn't see anything come out. But guess what? He's likely going to visit another SEC school. And I know Arkansas staff aware of that. I can't share who it is. It may be out there. And his dad told me they might take 2 or 3 more visits, uncertain, early or late. As of now, I think Arkansas is the leader there. Some people think where his dad played, Virginia Tech, might be the leader and may stay close to home. That Virginia Tech's going to throw a lot of NIL at him. Maryland was the other home state school that he visited, backyard school, in the footprint there, took a visit there. Some thought for a while that Buzz Williams and the Terrapins were the leaders. Some people think Georgetown's in the lead. He's visited there, another footprint backyard school. There's all kinds of stuff out there. I feel good about my one source that said Arkansas is the team to beat. I have felt that way for Baba Aladdin. His visit, all of them have been great. Arkansas's initial NIL offers have been great. And I still think, just like I did on my show a few days ago, where I did confidence levels, Baba was the highest on my list at a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. Brandon McCoy Jr., of those 3 guards you might have to wait on, all top 5 rated 5 stars, I had it a 5.5, just above the midline. I had Jordan Smith Jr. and Caleb Holt on the midline. All right, so I just kind of revisited some stuff to catch you up on where recruiting is right now. You've got it. Let's keep an eye on this. We're on official visit watch list now for Marcus Johnson, or not. Remember, again, on the late stuff, Arkansas's made a rush. I mean, on players, there's not even an offer out. That'd probably be the first thing we'd hear. I guess we're on offer watch first, and then you see what happens from there. All right, let's wrap the recruiting part now. We're still keeping our eyes open on this early signing period to see if Arkansas adds at least one more. and now you've got a new name in the mix, right? 20 minutes in exactly. Let's move on to the Malik Thomas love. By the way, here's Marcus Johnson down here in the right corner, wearing the Buckeyes jersey because he did commit, and that was from his visit. But there's Malik Thomas getting excited, clapping in that Razorback uni. You see the sign in the background, the St. Jude's hoops for St. Jude's, and so that was the Memphis exhibition game almost a week ago now. Again, Arkansas opens the regular season tomorrow against Southern. I'll be at Bud Walton Arena. We will have a live recap show. But look, what I've seen from Malik Thomas, I've said it. He was Arkansas's best player in the exhibition season when you add the Memphis game, the Cincinnati exhibition game, the prior 3 days before that. When you throw in the scrimmage work down in Hot Springs, 40 minutes of hogs on hogs. Everything I've seen. Winning the 3-point contest at prime time at the Palace. All these things. He was Arkansas's exhibition king. It took up the entire month of October, different stages, right? Prime time at the Palace. The Pro Day. He did a great job at Pro Day. Really good. And then, Hot Springs and then the 2 exhibitions. So you had 5 things that told us a lot effectively. Now we know how exhibition season can fool us. So we can't say with full-throated confidence, yep, Malik Thomas is the man. But the way he played, if he's able to consistently be like that, and Arkansas has the kind of year I think it will have, this is a first-team All-SEC player. Period. I'm not saying he will do that. I'm saying if he does this. 20.5 points, 7 rebounds, led the team in both exhibition games in rebounding and in scoring. 3.5 assists, 2.5 steals, led the team in steals. When you look at everything, the dude was making plays at both ends of the floor, and it's not just about the stats. He was efficient, 6 of 13 overall from 3, just, one make away from being over 50%, 46.5% at 63. That's elite shooting. And it's in line with all the talking points coming out of overtime elite. We're going, can he maintain the volume and be efficient like that? Yeah, the efficiency is actually better. Again, exhibition season, caveats out there. Got to make that disclaimer, of course. But just the little things that he's doing on the basketball court. He is a effort guy, and that's why at 6'5", I won't rule out the possibility this guy could be the leading rebounder for Arkansas this year. I don't think that's going to happen, but I can't rule out it as a possibility because he goes to the glass. He's always played that way. He makes good plays off his own creation off the bounce to find a teammate who set a screen for him and now rolling off of that or in transition. A lot of the stuff, man, I really wanted to bring highlights from the Memphis game and the Cincinnati game, and I packaged some stuff together. The FCC just doesn't allow it on these on these podcasts, so I just can't do it. There was so much good stuff, but we've got some stuff that I've put together from the exhibition season and from his high school days. And the first thing I want to do is play the interview I did with Leek at the Nike EYBL session in Kansas City back in May of 2024. And you probably heard him interviewed since then. Of course, he's grown as a person, getting that college experience already in terms of coaching, what's expected, how to deal with media, all these different things. But we're going to do the interview first, and then I'm going to go through a few highlights, not only from 3 plays from that same Nike EYBL session, real brief stuff. Then I've got a few plays and highlights that I pulled that I took my video from the tip-off scrimmage down in Hot Springs, which showed it. And that was just a few weeks ago, and it showed us a lot of the same stuff we saw against Cincinnati and Memphis. So let's not hesitate any longer. I think going into this, as we set this up, the reason we're celebrating Leek today is because he was Arkansas's best player, not just scorer, best all-around player in the exhibition season. I just said that. But I think the little things he's doing, reading situations, playing with confidence, playing with no fear in terms of going into traffic or just about every scenario, going up for a rebound, scrapping for a loose ball, all these different things. And then his floor IQ and talent. You can have all those things, but are you ready? Are you ready to be the guy? And he has stepped up as that. He was the guy that effectively turned the game around against Memphis. Yeah, it wasn't just him. Billy off the bench, Billy Richmond III, Malik Ewan, and then everybody else kind of pitched in late when Arkansas blew it open. But Malik Thomas a big part of that. So let's get to it first. let's see if I know what I'm doing here. Um, so the first thing we're going to show you is this interview that I did, and I hope this works. I'll be quiet in the background. This is about 2 minutes. Here with class of 2025, Leek Thomas, top 10 national 5-star. The Lightning, game one now of Nike EYBL in Kansas City. Leek, talk about your spring so far and how you've been able to put yourself near the top of the leaderboard in the high school ranks.
I would just say really spacing my workout from everybody else. Just feeling like I'm in the gym more than everybody else. Just separating myself each and every day, mindset-wise, body-wise, trying to get my body stronger, and just it's a mental thing. Just think you're better than everybody, work like you're better than everybody, you're going to be better than everybody.
You're long, you're skilled, but then you're smooth too. And you play with the confidence out there. How far is that going to take you when you start talking next levels, college and pro?
I'd say the furthest level is going to take me with all the pros, and just to be comfortable with the pros, just because of my length, my confidence level, and know I can play with the best of them all. So when you think like that, you can't be beat.
All right, now recruiting. Everybody's after you. It's going to be a big summer, spring and summer for you. Where does Arkansas fit? Because John Calipari's now the head hog. Where do you think Arkansas fits in the picture for you?
I say I like Arkansas as one of my top schools. Just for the I rock with Coach Kyle, so he moved over there. His staff went over with him, and so just I don't know how much I'm looking, because I don't really talk about too much school stuff, but I don't know how much I'm gonna look into it, but it's going. I rock with Coach Cal, so I'm gonna go check it out, take my visit and whatnot.
Have you talked to Coach Cal since he's been at Arkansas?
Yes, sir. Probably the first day he was over there.
All right. And as far as visits, what have you taken? What do you have set up? And do you think you might visit Arkansas?
I've taken my Pittsburgh, my Kansas, and my Kentucky. I will take my Arkansas. I don't have a date, and I know I have a few more schools in mind with just no dates.
Great catch up. It's time to go eat. I'm gonna leave you alone. Thank you, Malik.
I appreciate you.
Okay, so good stuff there from Malik Thomas. I hope the audio works because it doesn't work on my end. But I tested it with a recording yesterday, or I guess earlier today, and it seemed to work. So hopefully you got to hear all that. Really cool stuff. First thing I asked him about just his, at that level, loaded class of 2025, one of the top players there. Then I asked him about how that translates to the next level, college level, pro level. So you heard that, NBA. Then I asked him specifically about the Arkansas recruitment. John Calipari. It was the following month that he ended up visiting UConn, had a planned visit to Arkansas, and then ended up not doing that planned visit to Arkansas. And he told me that he'd let me know that he's going to have to postpone it. And then I reported that, I broke the news he was postponing that visit. Everybody thought he would end up at UConn, and we know how it played out. And Darius Acuff Jr. attending his official visit back during he attended that upset win. God, it's crazy to think just last year Arkansas beat a fourth-ranked Tennessee team in Razorback Stadium. Arkansas doesn't have a quality win in Razorback Stadium this year. I mean, they haven't even beaten the bottom feeders of the SEC. Arkansas officially that. All right, let's put that aside again. But Leek, we know how it played out. At the end of the interview, I said, let's get off of here. It's time to go eat. So his team had just finished a game. And he wanted to do, we had agreed that we were going to do an interview together, but they had brought food. I think it was Chick-fil-A for the team to eat because they had something else they had to do. And I said, hey, I can wait and circle back over here when y'all are finished eating with your team. And he goes, no, let's do this interview now. So he put his dinner aside to do that interview with me. So that was cool. I don't know if you caught that little part at the end there. All right. So, that's Leek. The confidence, I had reported at the time in one of these shows that I did, I think I did one or two from Kansas City, from the hotel room there. And I said, look, this is my favorite player in this class. Not just because of the swagger, not just because of the confidence, not just because of how hard he plays and how he just is constantly in alpha mentality mode, and not just as a scorer, but impacting plays that win. And, some guys have that high floor IQ and can do a lot of stuff, but he's got this swagger that he brings with it. And so I said, this is just my favorite guy. And then the interview helps tell that story. I mean, he's just a fun guy to talk to. And so impressive young man. So you get a glimpse, if you hadn't already seen that interview over a year ago, or you did and forgot about it, before he was ever a Hog. That's the pre-Hog stuff there. All right, so let's get to these highlights. The first thing you're going to see, the first three are highlights from that same Nike EYBL session in Kansas City. The first one cuts off. It starts a little late. He was hanging around the paint. A teammate was driving, missed a shot, and he got an offensive rebound and just a little putback right under the rim. But the next play, he gets out in transition and just tattoos a defender trying to contest him at the rim. And then the final play in this part before it bleeds into some of the highlights from the Hot Spring scrimmage just a few weeks ago. The last play from the Nike YBL is another game where it was late in the game, and it was a one possession game or one possession game, and he's in ISO mode on offense and goes and gets drives into a mid range shot. So let's go through it real quick, and then I'm going to pause it as we start getting into some of this stuff. All right, here we go. Really quickly, this little putback layup. That was after an offensive rebound. And there's the throwdown. I've got it in here twice. Here we go again. He barks. Now, you won't be able to do that and get away with it. And now he's in ISO and drives to a mid-range pull-up shot. And this is the clutch aspect. Everything we've seen so far, Arkansas's one going away. But here's a guy, I think both he and Darius Acuff, you can put the ball in their hands and let them go to work. So let's go back to this play. Again, it happened so fast. Let's see here. All right, here it is. Yeah, he just goes left and pulls up 17 feet out. And you see the scoreboard up there, about 8 seconds left. And he makes the kind of play that helps you win games. And okay, so now this is an interesting setup. You've got Elmir Jovic. I call him Hulk Hogan, the 7-footer from Bosnia. Down here in the low post, Malik Ewan's guarding. Jovic has the ball. You see a defender here in between his man and the ball, ready to help if there's a drive here. Now here's Malik setting up a really good defender. I think this is DJ Wagner, so we know he's no slouch. And watch this. This is going to be a low post step. You know, he's not deep on the low block, but he's a little bit deeper than the mid. It doesn't look like it, but he is. And he's just going to take one step, dribble, and hand this off to Malik, who doesn't need a dribble. Going to his left, he rises up for that confident, quick release corner three. And what I like about this is this kind of action you're going to see. You won't see Jovic playing much, but what you will see is this guy, Malik Ewan, in these kind of opportunities playing through Ewan. We've already seen him as a passing threat out of the low block offensively, especially against Memphis, and he can throw it opposite side or he can throw it near side. And watch what Jovic does in terms of he doesn't even have to set a solid screen, just gets in the way, and Leek understands already he doesn't need one or two dribbles, and there's no hesitation in this shot. Boom. Splash. Beautiful play there. I really like that. Now watch this play. This is what you don't see right now. You see BR3, Billy Richmond, as your primary handler. You've got DJ Wagner guarding him. And there's just going to be a dribble handoff right side out on the perimeter. And we're going to pause this after Malik catches the ball and squares the basket. All right, right here. Nick Pringle is coming up to set this high pick. And so Malik can read off of this situation. Here's Ewan. He's got to be ready to pop out if Leek drives left, and DJ can't fight through the screen up high. This is where the help will be. So he's squared up. He's looking this way. His eyes are actually, he leans so slightly. You can't tell it here, but he's got the ball left and he's leaned a little bit left. So DJ's stepping. See, the foot's not on the ground. He's stepping left, anticipating a potential drive with a screener here. Ewan's got the same thing. But here's what Malik does. He sees a shot opportunity because this guy's too far away to close fast enough on him. DJ's already moving the wrong direction, and Leek sees a defender here, and he sees Trevor Brazil back here. So there's not really a drive here off this slight, subtle little lean left before he gets to going right. He sees an opportunity to shoot a three ball, and it's a thing of beauty. So he has set this up, and he's read the situation correctly. He sees the defender, foot off the ground, moving to DJ's right, but from his perspective, Leek's perspective, moving a little bit left, and that's where he wants him. He wants him to do that, to think maybe I'm going to go high and use the screen to get a shot, or maybe hit the roller. Ewan's got to be concerned about all of that, and there's just a quick play to be made here for an elite level shooter. Boom, splash. Ewan can't get over and challenge that well enough to disrupt. So again, here comes Pringle on the pick. Let's watch it play out a little bit with Billy coming in and with the pass. Well, I didn't set it back enough. That was the previous play. Billy, just a little lean, enough to get DJ concerned about it, and that frees up that shot. And there's no point to overthink that and drive it into the paint. You got a shot there. We saw this against Memphis. We saw it throughout the preseason. Leek is shooting gap. Look, he doesn't even try to play behind that screen. He's taught to play over it and get to that guard who's trying to use that screen. So defensively here, let me set this up a little better. So I don't know what TB's doing here, but he's late if he was supposed to do anything there. And Leek just gets through clean. He's reading that situation because he knows as this pick's being set, he understands that the ball's the primary handler, if he's going that side and he's looking at the way that the primary handler out top is moving, he's moving to the left side. A screen's being established for a player running off that screen to get a perimeter pass, and so he just circumvents that and jumps that passing lane and took a clean angle. TB, if he was supposed to react off of his man and chip that run through the paint out to the perimeter, he didn't do a good job of it. And Leek might have avoided it anyway had Brazil done a little better job. And then you want the guard, who's also a Razorback, right? It was an intra-squad scrimmage, to make a better pass. To see that defender shooting through there, and maybe make a better pass. Anyway, that's the first little pocket of video that we watched. We got one more couple of 2 or 3 plays here I want to get to. Here we go. Real simple stuff. A-cuff dribbling left. Leek's coming from the opposite side, and he's using a screen, but it's not even a full screen. It's basically a ghost screen on opposite side. Look at Cuff's going left. Here comes Leek. You've got Malik Ewan in the way as though he's going to screen, and then he opens up. So he could get a pass or read that situation and roll hard to the basket. But it was just enough there. And this is Malik Thomas' wheelhouse offense. One dribble, though. So many times on the high school level, that might be a play where Leek probes a little bit more and looks for a closer range shot. Instead, the play is easy. Catch, one dribble, you got your spot, you're at the left elbow, pull up, 15-footer. Here's Leek in transition, throwing it up to Malik Ewan. That happens pretty quickly. Leek is on the ball, bringing it up the court here. And this is a transition opportunity, and he just throws it up. He reads situations really well as a facilitator. No, he's not a lead guard, but his savvy as not only in the open court but in the half court, he's constantly making good passes to help set up teammates. So you're not just relying on DJ Wagner. You're not just relying on Darius Acuff to really see things and get others involved. You got Malik Ewan who does that in the as one of your big men, but you also have Malik Thomas. We know there's some level of that with Billy Richmond III, and Calipari trusts him. So you got multiple players that make this a really good passing team, but Malik Thomas is one of them. So you just saw it there. This is just a basic lob and transition, but you get the idea. Okay, last thing here. This is him going basically primary handler again, and he's going coast to coast. And just there's a pick here. It's just, pull up 3. But what we've seen in transition with Leek is run into spots, not as the primary handler. when you looked at the Cincinnati game, you looked at the Memphis game, someone else has the ball and he's running left or right, either to the break, which is, kind of mid from corner baseline in the top, sort of that break area, or he's running all the way to a corner and he's reading how many defenders are back and where they are and what makes sense. And so all that's important. They work on that stuff in practice. How to read the transition and where the pieces are. Do you run to the break as a shooter or do you run to the corner? And there are times where you're going to run a little more shallow depending upon where defenders are. And there's times you're really going to try to create more spacing by getting to those corners. He does a really good job of that. So he's been really good in transition. I keep talking about secondary transition. There was so much of that against Cincinnati and Memphis. I would have loved to have broken that down. It'd been a lot easier talking points than my footage with some hard angles there to see everything. But anyway, that's there are the video elements. We're 41 minutes in. I spent a lot of time on that. This is a longer segment. Let's do a quick preview. Arkansas Southern Razorbacks all time. Again, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. tip. Bud Walton Arena, SEC Network, I believe. I don't even think it's the live stream. I think it's the actual SEC Network channel is televising this. If I'm wrong about that, then I'm wrong, and I'll put it in the comments with the YouTube later. But I think that's right. And so Arkansas 3-0 all time against Southern. The last time the two teams played was in the 2020-21 season. That was the first of back-to-back Elite Eight runs just a handful of years ago. It was coming out of the COVID shutdown, and you only played 9 non-conference games, and that was one of those. And so Arkansas maybe even opened. I don't know if that was who Arkansas opened with, but a blowout win. I expect the same thing. This is the defending SWAC champions. Finished 20-12 overall last year, 15-3, I believe, in the SWAC. Won that league outright. Has a good number of players returning. Southern does good retention. I think 6 players total that really factored into what they did last year. So it's not a team that's reloading. They have brought in new players. They did lose some production, of course, but they've got a lot of guys back, including Michael Jacobs, a 6'2" guard. He's a senior out of Atlanta. The leading scorer. He was the only double-digit scorer last year for the Jaguars, just over 11 points, between 2.5 to 3 rebounds, same stat with the assists. So that's the leading returning scorer and the only one in double digits. A team that averaged last year 74.8 points per game, shot about 43% overall from the field, 32% from three, 66 point something percent free throw shooting team. So we'll see what quality is, but it is a low D1, the SWAC conference, and I've said this recently. Arkansas should have no problem winning this game. It's a matter of if Arkansas comes out, disconnected, like it seemed to against Memphis. Anything can happen early. You might fall behind early if you come out sleepwalking again. I really felt like Arkansas in the start of that Memphis game after dominating Cincinnati, horn to horn, 40 minutes, kind of came out waiting for something to happen instead of making something happen. And this is a downhill physical kind of team, and it needs to set that tone early. Any team, Southern, anybody, is good enough to trade shots with you if you're not at your best. At the end of the day, if Arkansas is not at its best, I still think it's a double-digit win. I said that. If Arkansas is mid, not bad but not great, it's a double-digit win, slightly more than if you had an off night. If Arkansas is clicking on all cylinders, Lord had mercy. The scoreboard's going to reflect that, certainly. This is probably a blowout win for Arkansas. There aren't really any keys other than Arkansas playing to its identity. Again, share the basketball, get those paint touches. Those paint touches coming off drives, positionally to a man, guards, wings, bigs. Arkansas's been able to do that. The only player in the lineup that really doesn't do that's Nick Pringle, but he's doing all the blue collar stuff, hanging around that basket. And he's the benefactor. He's a beneficiary of those lob passes and getting out in transition and playing around the basket for putbacks. Those kinds of things. Arkansas needs to play to its identity from the start, and I don't see why they wouldn't. This is got the right amount of retention, players that help you get to a Sweet 16. You've got veterans out of the portal on that front line that have shown well, both of them in their own regard in exhibition season. And then you've got true freshmen so far. They've given us no indication that they're going to back down and not be ready for the moment. So, this is Arkansas team I think is probably better than that 14th preseason ranking that the Associated Press has hung. And so I look for Arkansas, and then the little things. Can you improve at the free throw line? That was the biggest weakness I saw in the exhibition season, shooting in the 60s at the foul line. I don't care what the volume is. You need a lot of free throws relative to your opponent if you're going to shoot that percentage. And yeah, you probably won't be a problem against Southern, but you'd like to see some of those things get better at this first opportunity when it counts. Arkansas's not been great keeping teams off the offensive glass yet. Will they do that tomorrow night? Something else I'm looking to see what happens there. I'm looking to see if Arkansas has self-inflicted wound turnovers, if they clean that up. It's kind of hit and miss with some of that. Had some bad turnovers early against Memphis. Do the freshmen? Is there anything different about this because it now is real? Is there anything that we see there? Maybe we see guys like Isaiah Sealy if the score runs up enough. Elmer Javich, Jaden Carolette. I don't know. I just know that top eight, it's starter value 1 through 8. We might see different starting lineups again, or does Calipari, now that the season and the lights are on for real, dial that down and just keep one starting unit for both halves? That remains to be seen. One more thing. Obviously, Arkansas is going to play at Michigan State at the end of the week, Saturday, November 8th, on Fox Television. National broadcast, 6 p.m. Central Time, I believe, a ranked Michigan State team. We're not doing a preview of that right now, but the reason why, even though we think Arkansas is going to blow out Southern, that's what we think, all those other things that I talked about that matter, the result's going to be the same. Again, just margins different if you have an off night. But if you have an off night, a lot of that's going to be, to me, not locked into the assignment and for whatever reason being distracted because there's no talent measurables that make this even close. There's no reason Arkansas shouldn't be firing on all cylinders and blowing this thing out and maybe trying to improve on some things and carry that over some things that weren't so great in exhibition season despite the blowout wins, because at some point they're going to have to make free throws because they're going to be in a close game. And Michigan State's probably going to be that first thing that we see where it's going to come down to the wire. And what we don't know yet, who's got the ball in their hand at the end of the game to go get a shot? If you've got a slight lead, 1 or 2 possessions, and the opponent's stopping the clock and making you go to the foul line, extending the game, you have guys that can knock it down and protect your lead and build on it. All those things matter, and they might matter as soon as the end of, in just a few days. So Southern, yes, we're all excited. I'll be there again. I'll do a post-game live. But until then, unless something breaks, and we got to break back on live today, thanks for being here. Appreciate all of you. Be great in all your endeavors. Great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you soon.